Welcome to Prayer and Bible Band. Lesson 12. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is God helps his children when they call him. The background reading is coming out of Job chapter 8, verse 20, Psalms chapter 40, verse 17, Psalms chapter 46, verse 5, Psalms chapter 70, verse 1, Psalms chapter 71, verse 12, Psalms 146, verse 5, Isaiah chapter 41, verse 13. The devotional reading is 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 1 through 13. The central verse, I will read the King James Version first and then the New Living Translation of Psalms chapter 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. The New Living Translation, God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. The key terms for today's lesson: inspire, sufficient grace, despondency. Inspire, to move or guide by divine influence, to stimulate to greater or higher activity. Sufficient grace, unmerited divine assistance given to humans for their regeneration or sanctification, enough to meet the needs of a situation or a proposed end. Despondency, the state of being despondent or extremely low in spirits. God has let his children know time after time that he's available to help them if they ask him for help. He is a right now God, for he is a present help in the time of trouble. Like any good father, God wants his children to know that he doesn't want them suffering needlessly. Believers should know how concerned God is about them. He says, throw all your cares upon him because he cares about whatever concerns you. He is the God of the hills and the valley, so you can lift your eyes onto the hills, for your help comes from the hills. Every human being will need help at some time in their life. They must humble their spirit, get rid of their pride, and receive help. Pride is one of the emotions that offends God. John said that all that is in the world is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. And that's 1 John chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. These three things are an offense to God, as they are of the world. Just as any good father, God is willing and able to help his children. The word of the Lord tells the believer to ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and he should find. And that's Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Job tells the believer that man that is born of a woman only has a few days, and those days are full of trouble. And that's Job chapter 14, verse 1. Sometimes they are troubles that a person cannot get himself out of. He must ask someone to help him. As a person drives along the road, he sometimes sees homeless people sitting or standing by the side of the road with a sign that reads, "Help me, please." Many times the person has lost his job or his home and has no income, so he asks people to help him. For whatever the reason, he recognizes that he needs help, and he's not too proud to ask for it. It is never too late to get close to God and ask him for help. Sometimes a believer must ask God for forgiveness, and at other times, he simply needs to ask God for guidance. Sometimes the answer may not be what you want, but he's concerned about whatever concerns you. The answer may be to wait, and many people don't like to wait because it puts them in an uncomfortable position. There were times when the Apostle Paul went through things, and God didn't come to his rescue and deliver him at that particular time. He was put in jail several times, and God did not rescue him out of those jail cells. But while he was in jail, he was able to accomplish some things that God had in his plans for his life. The believer must always remember that God has a greater plan for their life, and his will must always be done. God told Paul, after he had asked him to remove a thorn in his flesh 3 times, that his grace was sufficient for him. If the answer is delayed, it doesn't mean that it is denied, and the believer must not get anxious or frustrated. He must learn to say yes to the will of the Lord, secure in knowing that God is looking out for him at all times. Jehoshaphat and the Israelites knew that a great multitude was coming from the sea near Syria against them. The armies of Mount Seir, Ammon, and Moab were coming after them. So he called the people of Judah and Jerusalem together to seek help from the Lord. They came together praying and fasting, knowing that they needed help. There's a time when the believer must remind God of his word. So Jehoshaphat began to remind God how he had delivered them from their enemies time after time. He reminded God that he was the God of their fathers and that he had made a covenant with Father Abraham. He told God that he had said that if evil would come upon them as the sword, he would deliver them. God knew that these armies would slaughter them without some divine intervention. Judgment meaning any court disputes, pestilence, mass destruction, natural disasters, calamities, or famine, which is a calamity caused by a widespread scarcity of food, by a pandemic or a great shortage of necessities, can come upon people. If any of these things happen, believers can come boldly before his throne and receive the help that they need. If believers can make it to church where you have put your name, O Lord, then they can call unto you, and you will hear your children and help them. There is no need for believers to go through life and suffer certain things alone, when God is waiting for them to trust and call him. There are times when the believers don't have the help they need because they don't ask for it. When a person only has lemons and doesn't have anything to make lemonade out of them, they should do as the old saints used to do. Send someone to the neighbor to borrow a cup of sugar and move forward in the process. The believer doesn't have to choose despondency and discouragement, but those things can come and rob the believer of all their joy and contentment. There is help for each believer when they know and practice going to God in their time of need. The questions for today's lesson. Number 1, does God always answer the believer in a positive way when they ask for something? Number 2, what happens when God makes you wait? Number 3, why is some help delayed? Number 4, when God didn't answer Paul, what did he tell him? I'm going to repeat number 4. When God didn't answer Paul, what did he tell him? The essential thought: let God's help in your life motivate you to help and inspire others. The end. God bless you and thank you for joining me today.